Hello, creatives. Thank you for dropping by. Before we get started, please do me a great favor and hit that subscribe and the like button. And, it helps the channel, helps us out, and helps us grow. So today's thought, let's see, I've been reading a little bit about people who've gone through crises and difficult situations, and been focused a little on Nelson Mandela and Viktor Frankl and a few other prominent people who were going through situations that were so difficult and yet managed to remain optimistic and managed to remain sane and managed to remain encouraging to other people, which is amazing. So the thought for today is secret to happiness. I know we spoke about happiness before. The secret to happiness is freedom, and the secret to freedom is courage. So, in terms of Mandela, he was standing up against apartheid, and it wasn't that he was the only one. He wasn't the only one, but he was the one in South Africa who decided to call out the government and tell them this is wrong. And for his troubles, they imprisoned him on Robben Island. That's Robben Island. And he was there, if I'm not mistaken, 17 years. So there was no trial, there was no due process, there was none of that. It was just that he was taken and he was put away. And they hoped that his incarceration would break his spirit, would turn him cynical. But instead of doing that, what they created when they did that, I think this was always within Mandela, is that he had inside, even though he was, and I think he said this a few times, that even though they incarcerated him, even though they put him inside a cell, he was still free. And why was he still free? Because within his mind, within himself, he was a free person. You can't imprison the mind. You can imprison someone's body, but you can't imprison the mind. And in order to do that, in order to have that attitude, in order to have that kind of freedom and happiness, is you have to have courage. You have to be willing to face situations head on and not let them deter you from your inner happiness, from being satisfied, from being willing to face another day. Because sometimes all you can do, all the only ability you have is to get up, have your will, employ it, use it, and have the courage to face another day. And sometimes that's the hardest thing. It's not anything else that's going on in your life. It's sometimes just getting up and saying, I'm going to face today. In the terms of Viktor Frankl, who was a Holocaust survivor and then also psychoanalyst, and wrote, I think, more than one book, but wrote a very prominent book. This is a person who was rounded up, captured, and put away, and was on course to being exterminated. And yet, even within that situation, so imagine losing all your freedom, physical freedom, and losing friends and family to a government that has determined that you're no longer worth living. And even within that, he said that he was able to maintain a level of happiness within that circumstance. He was able to maintain his freedom. And the only way you can do something like that, especially in a situation, and one is not, I'm not trying to compare the two. I'm not comparing Frankl to Mandela. It's two very different situations, but they also have a lot of similarities, right? And hopefully you're not in that situation, either of those situations today. But sometimes you may feel like life becomes a prison, or life becomes a situation that's unbearable, or you may think, what is it worth it? Why am I here? And I want you to take a moment, and as you pursue this happiness that you may think is gone, there are moments of happiness. But in order to have those moments of happiness, you have to have freedom. And in order to have freedom, You have to have courage. And sometimes it takes courage to face the day. Sometimes it takes courage to face difficult situations. Sometimes it's a really bad job. Sometimes things are happening in your marriage or with your family, and you have to be the one to take a stand and say, okay, we're going to deal with this situation. We're going to face this situation head on. We're not running away from this. So today's thought, and I want you to keep this with you today and every day from today on, is the secret to happiness is freedom. And the secret to freedom is courage. You have to have courage. So grab your courage, don't let it go. Hold on to it and stand within that courage. You can do this. Because you know what? You're not like everyone else. You are uncommon. So above all things, be uncommon. Have a great day.